Well, hello, and welcome to our weekly Ignited Tea. I am so excited to see we have some people on. Awesome. Welcome. I am Rhonda Kennard, your Ignited Life and Success Coach. And today, like every week, we are talking about ways that you can get unstuck, step into your greatness, own your power, and not be afraid to go after what you truly desire, deserve, and crave in your life. So I'm just going to make sure, guys, if you can hear me, if we're all good, let me know. I like to check this on my phone just to be sure that all is well before I move forward. Yes, there we go. And there's also a lag. So if you do post anything in the chat and it takes me a second to see it, it's all good. I'm going to see it. It just means that there's a lag and things take longer. But I am so excited you guys are here. If you're here for the replay, hey, today is a topic that I truly love talking about, honey, because I am the queen of big leaps of faith. I think everything in my life that has been successful has been the result of a big leap of faith. And what I know for certain is that a lot of you are not moving in the direction that you want to go in because you are standing at the top of the swimming pool, at the very top of the diving board, and you're like, oh my God, I'm scared. What if this happens? Oh my God, they're making me nervous, right? We all do that. And so today, we're going to look at big leaps of faith, really talk about what that means, because I also want to introduce a concept to you that we never talk about, you may have never heard of, and that's small leaps of faith. And there's something to be said about us moving in very small ways. I believe I say it all the time in all my social media to all my clients. Every time I speak, I'm saying it now. Small steps every day. And sometimes we hear big leaps of faith and we're just not ready to do the big thing, right? It's so much easier to do small things. And so I want you to think about small steps every day as we talk, and we'll get into what I mean about that. But if you are watching and you can, if you're not driving or you're at work, if you can just break away really quickly to the chat, just let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. And I leave the chat open even for the replay viewers. So if you're watching replay and you want to just throw it in the chat or the comments, it's up to you. But I do like to know where people are tuning in from. Okay, so I try to make these 30 minutes, but listen, I let the spirit move me. Whatever I feel needs to be said, it's said. Sometimes they're 30, sometimes they're 40 minutes, but I guarantee that when you leave here, you will have tips, strategies, you will feel empowered, you will feel motivated. Okay. And again, I'm not telling you just theory, oh, let me just come on and waste everyone's time, including mine, and just talk about things that I know nothing about. I am telling you all about my journey, other people's journeys, and what really works and what you need to do to empower yourself and to move forward so that you can take these big leaps of faith. Hello, Cynthia C. Thank you for being here. And so we had a couple more people on, and I'm just excited because when we talk about milestones, and Cynthia and I talk about this very often. I mean, there are times I'm doing this live for 40 minutes and no one's on. And so to see three people on when I started, what a blessing, right? And sometimes we're going to talk about this. I'm always giving out all these spoilers. Hey, oh my gosh, look who it is. It is Veronica, this beautiful fiery queen is here. Thank you so much for being here. This is really exciting. I was just saying that sometimes I do these lives and there is no one here. And listen, I do not get discouraged. And as you move forward in your goals and in your purpose, you don't need to get discouraged either, because you can listen to everyone from Tyler Perry to Oprah Winfrey to all of these amazing people who talk about their journeys. Where someone I watched that I worked with once, her name is Heather Lindsay. She worked in an office that I worked in before. And she talks about when she took her big leap of faith, she started doing videos. No one was on them for like a year. And now this woman is just as big as Sarita Jakes and some of these other people we know in the Christian communities. So I'm just happy to see you guys. So thank you for being here. supporting me. I guarantee you will walk away from here with information that is going to help you take your big leaps of faith. So, of course, my house phone is ringing because that's what it should do while I'm on my live. So, the first thing we're going to do, which I do every week, is we're just going to break down a big leap of faith. Feel free to put comments in. I'm kind of leading the discussion. I will be looking to see if you guys are adding because listen, we learn from each other, okay? Each one of us has an unseen history, as Michelle Obama put it in her book, Becoming. And that means that we bring something different to the table, right? And other people don't know that history. We don't know why others do what they do, but we can all learn from each other and respect each other in the learning process. So feel free to add something. So let's talk about big leaps of faith, okay? So a big leap of faith, let's talk about what a leap is. So a leap means to propel yourself quickly upward or a long way. But I kept researching because I wanted to dig a little more for something more simplistic that really hit the nail on the head. And what I liked is when you leap, it is to propel yourself over, okay? To propel yourself over, to dive into something. But what I liked is that when I thought about this more, I began to think about when we talk about big leaps of faith, what we're really talking about is how to propel yourself over fear. Because ultimately, right? Yes or no, tell me. Ultimately, the reason you have not taken that big leap of faith is because you're afraid, unsure, or scared, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do that. So, what we're talking about today are leaps of faith, and we're going to talk about small leaps of faith because so many of us get stuck in big leaps of faith. And I believe that some of the things we do on a daily basis are big for us. The world may not see them as big. It may be like, oh, well, that's just every day. Like, wasn't a big deal. Maybe not to you, honey. But if you knew my unseen history, you knew my past, and you knew what I've had to overcome and withstand and go through and come out of, baby, let me tell you, this was a big leap of faith. And so we're going to talk about that because I don't want you to frame your big leap of faith into someone else's frame. What may seem small to somebody could be really, really significant to you. But before we go further, I also want you to recognize faith, right? Because faith is the belief with strong conviction. I know without a doubt, I have a firm belief in something, and I don't have any proof. I don't really know, but I do know who I am. The spirit inside me is telling me it's so, even though nothing around is telling me. You know, when I purchased my first house in 1997, was it 1987? Yes. Listen, I bought this house and I was an intern at SunGuard, okay? Which means you get 6 months for a job, you get a little bit of paycheck, and after that, you have no job. I'm like, I need to buy a house. I go buy this house, and my mortgage guy, John Cones, who is still in business, still doing mortgages at this time, he's like, well, how are you going to buy a house? You don't have a job. I was like, I'll have one. And he's like, well, this is temporary. This isn't considered full-time employment. I'm like, listen, I will have one. Let me tell you something. I started that job in September 1996. April 1st, 1997, I was offered a full-time job at SunGuard. I was the very first intern in the history of the company that they hired who was still a student. Everyone else had degrees. I didn't have a degree. I had 2 more years for my degree. So when I tell you faith is that thing inside of you that leads you to do big things without any proof, no kind of way of knowing that it'll work out, but you move in it anyway. Okay. It's also important for you to remember before we move forward that faith requires action. Okay. To propel means to do something, to move forward. It didn't mean to step back, to look around. Definitely doesn't mean talking about it. It means to propel, to take action. So faith is only activated when you are moving forward and what you know is for you, by you, and is going to be manifested in your life as long as you take the action and move forward. Okay, so it's important for us to know that because so many people, I have faith, I'm walking in faith. Well, no, you talking in faith. You ain't did no walking yet. You are talking in faith, and talking is just wishing, right? So when we talk about big leaps of faith, what we're talking about moving forward is propelling yourself over fear in faith, which means that you are what? moving forward. Okay. Important for you to know. So what I want to get back to are small leaps, right? And we're going to talk in a minute about why we don't take small or big leaps. But I want to preface this now because I want to make sure we're on the same page that, again, we hear the term big leaps of faith, but sometimes your small leap is a big leap. And I touched on that earlier. And so, what are some examples? And you guys share in the chat with me if you can, again, if you're able to write safely or type safely. What are some things that you've considered doing or that you've done that you would consider? We're going to say leap. We're not going to say big or small, but I'm going to say something that would be considered small. And what I mean by small is really that thing that you know you did that was significant that maybe the world can't see. So when I left corporate America, April 21st, 2017, and I said I took this big leap of faith, like people saw that. So it was by the standard of big in terms of audience. Oh, that was a big leap of faith. But I have to tell you, I have taken some big leaps of faith that nobody knew about. Okay. When I was at work having to stand up for myself, when I was only 21 years old, asking for a raise and refusing to be told no, you know, when I took a leap of faith dating my husband, right? Because he was so unconventional. He was so different, going against the grain of what people think you should be doing. Going back to college. Yes, Urban Umi, thank you. Going back to college. That is a big leap of faith, especially when we talk about going back to something. And I'm going to, and you can tell me because I don't know the history of this, but when someone says going back, and I can relate, I was kicked out of my college, okay? I had to go back, and I had to go back over the fear of, oh my gosh, I hope I don't repeat these same mistakes. And what if I'm not good enough? And what if this doesn't work again? Right? So, how brave is it to go back to something to keep pursuing it? That's when we talk about destiny and what you know is for you and what you should be doing because you keep going back to something. And Urban Umi, you've been educating and self empowering for years. Okay, Cynthia here says moving to a new location was a big leap. Yes, yes, it was. Queens, going back to college, right? Moving forward, moving to a new location. Absolutely, not knowing anybody. I hope I'm going to be okay. I hope I can get around. I hope I find a new community and a new tribe. Now, I want you to think about the things you just shared with me and again from a world's perspective watching, oh my gosh, that was a big leap. But I'm going to tell you, before you made these leaps that we could all see, you were brave and you were powerful and you were purposeful and you were crushing your goals and who you desired to be. You were a warrior and a conqueror before we saw you do these big things. And that's what I mean by the small leaps. So what in you had to change or grow or become before you made that big leap? And those were the things that were the small leaps that nobody saw. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about small leaps. So while you're typing or thinking about that, saying no to somebody is a big leap. The world may not see this big transition that you've done, but I can remember, people wanting me to bake $500 cakes for $49. Okay, I'm like, the fondant cost me $250, right? And I had to start saying no. And while it may not have seemed like a big thing to other people, it was a really big leap on my part because I had to believe in my gifts and my talents and my vision in order to say no to people who I'd always let just, get over on me or do what they want. And so, you guys, I want you to recognize that while you did these big things, that there were small leaps that you took before then. Thanks for joining. SJ Moore 730. I bought a house that was 2.5 times more than my first house. Salary did not change. I had to get away. That is an absolute leap of faith. Absolutely. But you did that because you know beyond knowing, and you know that that you're going to be okay, that you're going to be sustained in that house. Listen, I get it. When I had my second child and we heard gunshots, we were like, we're out of here. We went from a house that was a quarter of the cost of the one we're in now. But when you know that you've been called to move forward, to propel, you have to move past fear and do what you got to do. And that requires big faith, which requires big leaps. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And so I want you guys to just thank you for sharing these big leaps, and kudos to you guys for going after what you want unapologetically, right? And what I love here, what I know here when we look at Cynthia C's comment, and I'm sure Sage SJ Moore and Urban Umi can relate to this, is that, there are times you're making these big leaps and people are like, what are you doing? And why are you doing that? And that sounds crazy. And what if, and what if, and what if? And what's crazy is you're already playing that soundtrack in your head. What if, oh my God, the last time this, I'm scared. What if people don't do this thing or that thing, right? And then you have other people playing that in your head. So making these big leaps of faith, we can see why people don't do it. We can see why so many people get stuck where they are. Okay, so I also want you guys to think, feel free to share. I'm going to move on, but feel free to share because I'll stop because I love this, you guys. And this is why we're here, to share with one another. I definitely want you to share your small leaps of faith. What are those things you did? And if you don't, this is a safe space, but if you don't want to share here, that's fine. But what are some things that you've done, that you had to do in silence and quiet? May not seem like big leaps, but listen, this was a big leap, under the sheets. Okay. One of the things I wrote down for me was fear of networking. I'm an introvert. Can you tell? I am such an introvert, but I have to tell you that I love speaking. It's something transformational, even here. And what's crazy, if I was in a room just of like people networking right now, this Rhonda would not show up, right? I just have this fear of networking. But a small, big step I took just this week was I registered for a networking event. We were going to go bowling. So I figure, okay, well, it's something to keep you busy, but that's something I would have never done. And, I may say to someone, yeah, I registered and I'm really excited, and be like, okay, like, why are you really making a big deal about this? But for me, right, that was a major step. So I want you to celebrate. Think to yourself now about those things you've done. And even this year, the next levels that you want to go to, the next level you're required to go to, the next level you're being called and pulled, even though you don't want to. And your spirit is pulling you, baby. No, I need you to go this way because there's work and assignment there for you. It is going to require you to get uncomfortable, be unconventional, and start taking those leaps of faith, propelling yourself over the fear to the things that you have been called to do. These things you want from health, wellness, relationships, education, degrees, more money, better tribe, all these things you want for yourself, peace, happiness, more love, more service, more people around you that get you. All these things are going to require you to get uncomfortable and get unconventional. And when I mean unconventional, it means radical. And radical for Cynthia looks very different than radical for me. Radical for me is going to a networking event and bowl and actually be personable and make new contacts and meet new people and build relationships. Okay. What's interesting is that for Cynthia, that could be, oh, bowling, great. And she go there talking to everybody at the table because that's what she does, right? Talking to everybody at the table, friendly, hee hee ha ha. But for me, it's a big leap. So I want you to recognize the things that are going to require more faith of you as you propel over fear. Okay. Let's see here. Going to college to ask for help so I could go back because I was on academic probation and didn't qualify for financial aid. Asking for help is uncomfortable for me. Yes, yes. And let me read this next comment. I'm an introvert too, and I want all of that, but where do I start? Okay, you hang on, SJ Moore. I'm going to tell you where to start. We're going to talk about your next best move. And man, I mean, so many places we could go, but I'm going to give you a little meat to go with that you can nibble on at the end of this. Urban Umi. Wow, this is so powerful. Asking for help. That is a big step. And this is what I'm talking about. And I hope that in the moment that you asked for help, I hope you felt empowered that, yes, I did this thing and I was afraid and I hate asking for help. But at this point where I'm called to be, what I desire to have is requiring more of me. And the things that I let limit me in the past can no longer limit my future because I want this, right? So for you, asking for financial aid and saying, listen, I'm going to do better. I'm going to strive for more, but I need this assistance to do it was radical. And listen, celebrate. Celebrate. Listen, we're going to celebrate you here. And I hope you celebrated yourself because for you to move past that fear was phenomenal. And SJ Moore, listen, don't let being an introvert keep you from making your big leaps. I had to tell myself now, I don't know your truth, so I'm not speaking on it. I'm speaking on mine. I have used being an introvert as an excuse for laying low in the cut for so long. I have allowed it to limit my opportunities, my reach, my expansion, not just as a business, but as a person, always be, well, I'm an introvert, so that's why I stay in the back. But what we have to do, people like us, and with anything that any of you guys are carrying around that keeps you from making those big leaps, from propelling forward past fear, over fear. I didn't say there's an absence of fear. I simply said that we have to move over fear. As you do that, you guys, I want you to think about oh, I just looked at here and looked at the time. I'm sorry. And then totally lost my train of thought. But what I want you guys to think about, oh, I'm back on it. Don't worry, I'm back on it. I want you to think about how sometimes these likes and dislikes, right, keep us from stepping greatly into our next best thing, our next best life, our next best relationship, our next best everything, right? Because we stick on to that. And so SJ Moore, I want you to start thinking about when you say I'm an introvert, how have you allowed that to hold you back? Like I told you, I had to say I'm an introvert, but darn it, I'm going bowling. I'm going bowling and I'm going to be an introvert networking, right? Because I cannot continue to fall back and allow greatness to pass me by because of being an introvert. Urban Umi could not allow these opportunities for her to enhance her education, get her degree, move forward, and all the life and amazing and awesome things that are going to happen during that journey would literally pass you by if you said, well, I don't want to ask for help. So the bravery it takes to make big leaps is something you should recognize and something you should celebrate. Awesome, you guys. Thank you for this good word. So we're going to go right into why we don't leap. We kind of covered a little bit. Well, it's unconventional. So one thing is, well, and I'm going to add something to this list based on what Urban Umi just said. I think sometimes pride won't allow us to take a big leap, right? Because asking for help means we think it means that we lack something, therefore we need someone to fill a void. I've learned that asking for help is the most brilliant thing you can do, because if Urban Umi has what I need and I don't have it, or she's great at that and I'm terrible at it, then listen, I need to go to her and I need to say, can you fill this void for me? I need you to help me make this a reality in my life. I'm not so much focused anymore on what she thinks about me. I'm only focused on my task, my forward motion, my goals, my dream, my vision, and what's going to happen along the way and when I hit that finish line. So many of us are stuck in ego and, well, I don't want to ask because people will think, well, you know what? Your purpose is not where on this line where people think and what they think about you. You should be moving forward. And so I love that Urban Umi shared that with us. And it's important that we remember that pride cannot keep us from moving forward. And you are going to have to get radical and unconventional. It is so important to your success and for your ability to propel. Okay. If you're not willing to be unconventional, if you're not willing to take ego off, I did a video yesterday. You guys can, I mean, last week, you guys can catch it after this. Go to my channel and look for it. I talked about ego being something that keeps you stuck, right? Let go of that. Another reason we don't leap is because sometimes it's a lonely place, right? It's a lonely place. And I know, Cynthia, you touched on you moved to a new place. I'm sure that feels lonely sometimes. It's different. I don't know anybody here. And so many people worried about what is going to happen on the negative part, right? Well, what if I don't know anybody? What if I don't meet anybody? What if I don't find a new church home? What if this doesn't work out? What if bad? What if more bad? What if more bad? And then you pile yourself and your optimism under a whole load of pessimistic garbage, and then you stay stuck. So yes, taking a big leap sometimes is a lonely place. The biggest thing here is the unknown, right? Well, if I do that, when I left corporate America, and listen, I had a six-figure job. I was coming and going as I wanted. I worked at this company for 11 years. I was respected. The people were cool. You know, we had pizza on Fridays. I didn't always eat the pizza, you know, but we did a lot. We had great holiday parties. It was fantastic. This Apple Watch, thank you, on my 5-year, or it's my 10-year anniversary. They gave me this Apple Watch. Listen, we had perks and benefits, good benefits, all of that. Okay. So for me to say, I really think I want to get rid of that. I'm not walking in purpose, and I want to pursue this speaking and coaching and teaching. And I want to use my gifts and my technical talents to do things that are really going to touch people's lives. You don't think that was scary? What? And let me tell you, when you leap out of a job making six figures, well, where'd that check go? Okay. That is scary. All right. But when you know that you've been called to do something, you don't focus on, well, oh, I'm losing this job, and oh, where's my community going to be? And oh, what about my money? I mean, I could have went down in health benefits. Like, I'm keeping it real with you, you know, all these different things. But let me tell you something. That was April 2017. I'm still sitting here looking fabulous, bills paid, been on vacations. God is good. I am well taken care of. My family is healthy. Let me tell you, because that's how faith works. When you move and you propel over the fear, I didn't say there's an absence, but when you move over the fear and you know that this is the direction you've been called to go in, things will work in your favor. And you know why they work in your favor? Because you're not expecting them to do anything but work in your favor, right? Let's see here. Okay, we have any comments here? All right, guys, I'm going to keep on going. So is that word touching somebody? Can you relate to anything I'm saying? If you're having an aha moment, give me an amen. You go, girl. Keep it real, 100 something. Let me know you are here and you are feeling this message today. Okay. Also, a reason we don't leap is because we don't want to make a mistake or we don't want to risk anything. What you need to understand about these leaps of faith, you propelling over fear, is that everything you want requires risk. If you don't take anything else I said, you tweet it, put it on Instagram. I need you to understand that everything you want, the greater, the abundance, the joy, the success, the financial increase, the relationship, the peace, the happiness, the contentment, the fulfillment, the joy, the marital bliss. Okay, everything you want is on the other side of risk. From dating my husband to buying my house with no job, to getting married, to buying our first investment property without a darn clue what we were doing. Okay. So I've taken every risk, from financial to emotional to educational. Everything that you want that is going to be great, that has your name on it already, requires you to propel over fear, through risk, through hurdles, through obstacles, to your finish line. But it is going to be a risk, but it is a risk worth taking. I want you to think about that. What risk are you taking to pursue your goals and your dreams and the life you desire to live? What risk are you taking? What risk are you willing to take? Oh, yes. Thank you, guys. Yes, yes. All right. Preach it. Okay. Urban Umi, fear of being wrong. Yes, fear of being wrong. And I'm looking at the time, guys. We're not going to go too much longer because I don't want to lose you guys. This is so good, and I want you to hear the very end. I'm just going to give you one action item. So let me touch on this fear of being wrong. Too many times we don't leap for fear of others' opinions. You ladies hitting the nail. I need a hammer with a nail. Hitting the nail on the head. Bam, bam, boom. Check. Bing. You are absolutely correct. Fear of being wrong, and sometimes that's internal, but sometimes we're worried about everybody watching. And then too many times we don't leap right because we're worried about everybody else. And I find it so interesting, Urban Umi, you've heard me say this today, you've heard me say this, SJ Moore, you're going to hear me say it today. Listen, we are so worried about the opinions of other people who don't have much going on themselves. They're not living a life we crave. They're not living a life that we desire. They're not living a life we want to emulate. Yet we're like, oh my God, what are people going to say? Right? But here's what you need to understand. When you've been called in purpose and you're ready to make a big leap because you're something in you, something greater than you is calling you forward. Why are you listening to man? Why are you over here wondering what they're going to think and if they feel like you're qualified? Why are you looking for validation from them when you have already been called and validated from the Most High, that spirit that lives in you that cannot be compromised or negotiated by anybody else's opinion? Right? So, okay, well, Rhonda doesn't think I should move, so Cynthia doesn't move. Well, who am I? Because let me tell you, I've got my own insecurities. And you know why I'm spewing negativity your way? Because I was too afraid to make a leap. Because when I had the chance to do something great, I talked myself out of it. I let other people's opinions talk me out of it. I didn't have the courage or the confidence. So you know what I'm going to do to you? When you share your big thing with me, oh, I'm going to talk you. Why you want to do that? Well, I wouldn't do this if I was you, right? How many times have we heard people tell us what they would do? Well, you know what you need to do? You need to let me be great. You need to let me walk in purpose. You need to support me. You need to pray for me. You need to uphold me, lift me up, and encourage me. But what you need not do is tell me what you think. Because regardless of what you think, I'm moving this way anyway, baby. Okay. So now you can either come with me, before me, or you can watch me work. But either way, I'm going to take that big leap. I am going to propel over fear. I'm going to propel over people's opinions. I'm going to propel over everything that scares me. I'm going to do it anyway because you know without a doubt that that great thing you're working on that already has your name on it is worth every obstacle, every risk, every step, every hard step, every climb, every challenge. You know that it's worth it, and that's why you're going. So from this point forward, right, when we know we've been called and we know we've already been validated and qualified, we are not going to listen to other people because they serve no purpose in the qualification process. Okay, I guarantee that when God was looking down on me and saying, Rhonda, this is your purpose, he did not consult with Cynthia. He did not consult with Urban Umi. He did not, oh, I like you, SJ Moore, but he did not consult with you. Okay, therefore, whoever you believe, let me tell you, the person with the opinion was not consulted in your destiny process. So you stop consulting them in your destiny process and you move forward being brilliant and bold and brave and radical and brazen because you were called to do that thing. Okay. And when you've been called, you don't need to be qualified by these people who cannot qualify you. Okay. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much thank you for this energy, you guys. I am feeling it. So I don't want to take up too much of your time because I don't want you again to drop off. So we're going to go right to the end. I love this conversation and I love that you've given me energy and I'm so happy to get the feedback I've been giving you some. So how do you leap? Well, and I'm going to go through this list and I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't want to rush through everything, but I'm going to say a couple things here. You can prepare for a leap. You can begin to do preparation for leaping, financial preparation. If it's something, again, I mentioned me and my husband, we were like, listen, we're going to buy investment properties because one day, you know, we want to be able to walk away from a corporate job. Hello, see how things manifest themselves. Yes, see how when people thought you weren't qualified, you didn't know what you were doing, you were being set up for greatness, and it did not happen 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later. It happened like 15 years later, but it happened, and I was being prepared for this very moment when I did not even know it. 15 years ago, I didn't know I was going to leave this corporate job to do this, but I was being prepared. Now you can get prepared when you do have an inkling that, I think I want to go back to school. I think I want to write a book. I think I want to do that. I think I want to get in shape. There are things you can begin to do to prepare yourself. And one of the biggest things you have to do isn't physical, but it really becomes a self-care issue. And what we talked about, and you guys touched on, is that when you start thinking out the box, right? You just burn the box, right? In my life, there's no box, okay? And I know a couple of you here, there's no box, right? When you move away and you do your own thing and you let your heart guide your choices, there's no box. When you say, I'm going to live freely, I'm going to be me, I'm going to love myself wholly without the opinions of others, there is no box, okay? So when you're living like that, 99% of the people around you are like, well, what are you doing? And they're going to judge you and they're going to try to make you feel like crap. Will have you darn near in tears because of their opinions. And these will be people you love, people who are close to you, people you thought you could confide in. Those are the people you're going to have to fight the most. And this is where self-care comes in, because you've got to build yourself up. Okay? That's nobody else's job. Your happiness, your strength, your tenacity, your resilience, you're being a conqueror and a warrior and a queen and the essence of everything courageous. You're a fighter. All of that that is within your package, whether you understand that or not, that is your responsibility. And so part of making big leaps is being able to move forward confidently, knowing who you are and who you've been called to be. Therefore, you will not be swayed or feel bad about yourself when other people don't support you. You will just understand they don't support you. It's not that you're bad. It's not that you're making bad choices. These people don't get it. But self-care allows you to understand that's okay. Because I know without a doubt that any of you right now are doing something radical or unconventional, somebody's looking at you sideways or trying to fight you about it. So you've got to build yourself up. You also have to reduce the negativity and the toxic energy around you. That's people, places, and things. Now, you can disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But what I know for certain is that I don't watch negative TV. I watch the dumbest shows. The shows I watch are the dumbest. Okay, you know why? Because they're light. And I need light. I need like physical and emotional light, right? I can't deal with too much heavy stuff. Now, if I need to watch something heavy, I will. But for the most part, I keep it light because I need a light environment in order for me to stand strong and do this work. This work here, it can drain you. So I can't have other things draining me. And so it's important for you to keep toxic things and people and comments and conversations at bay, negative things, right? This is why your tribe is so important. I know we all have friends we've been friends with for years, but let me tell you, some of those people can't be right up on you when you're trying to do this great thing, when you're trying to be unconventional and propel yourself over fear to your destiny, right? Because they're not going to get it. And you don't need this in your ear and why and what's and side eye and shade and funny looks, right? You can't have that around you. So I'm going to also suggest that you look at who's around you, who is filling you up, and what are they filling you up with on a daily basis. So that self-care is very important. And let me give you guys one more thing here. And this is the biggest thing. This is your takeaway. So this is your action item. The big leaps of faith. Oh my God, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go do this thing I want to do. I'm going back to school. I'm going to get that financial aid. I'm going to move away. SJ Moore, I'm going to go after the life I desire. I'm going to be unapologetic. How do you do that? Now, we talked about not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to be wrong. I want you to stop focusing on that. Even with your small leaps of faith, you're going to be taking this week, next week, and forever. I want you to think about what you want, what you desire, and the vision. So when I left corporate America, I left my 6 figures, my bonus, my come and go as I want, my good benefits, going to the gym at lunchtime, my friends, this environment I had grown to love for 11 years. You know what? I didn't say, well, what if I never have another opportunity like that? What if nobody hires me? What if no one pays me to speak? No, what if no one ever comes to my YouTube? See, that's not my destiny. So why am I focused on what's not for me? I've been called and validated already. So you know what I'm walking in anticipation for? People showing up to my YouTube and sharing space and energy and feeding and building one another and filling each other up. my coaching clients who will be touched by what I give them, how we work together to move them forward to create the life they desire. All the new people I'm going to meet on this journey as I get rid of toxic energy and make space and allow in, not by saying I'm an introvert all the time, but standing true in my desire to want more people around me that are going to build me up, that I can then build up and serve as well. This is what I'm focusing on. So the way you begin to position yourself to take big leaps of faith and small leaps of faith is you stay focused on the life and the desires and the results you want. What if it goes right? What if you do ask for financial aid and you get it? What if you do get this house and you can afford the mortgage and still take vacations and still get the car and still do things with the kids and still give and do all these other things? What if you move and you do find a community? What if you are happier there? What if it works out great and you thrive in that new place? And not what if, but I want you to change to what if to when. When I do move in that, when I do propel, when I do go over fear to that thing, when I do take the risk, I do jump that hurdle, I defeat that challenge, I go over that obstacle, right? I climb that mountain, I get to the top. When. No more what ifs, no more looking at the negative. When I am successful, when I reach my destiny, when I reach my divine assignment, when I achieve my goals, right? Now that should put a smile on your face. And every time you think about your big leap, I want you to think about that. I want you to smile and I want you to propel past your fear. Okay, so thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I appreciate you. I'm excited for your next levels. I want you to continue this conversation. Make sure you hop on over if you're not SJ Moore on my Facebook page, A Life Ignited. Go out to Facebook, Rhonda Kennard, A Life Ignited, and make sure you follow and get notifications. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm just excited. Thank you, Queen. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for your time. I do not take it for granted that you have spent 41 minutes of your life here, and I hope it was worth the investment. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Until next time, be motivated, be inspired, continue to be a life ignited.